quite useful to find out how was it when you got to the assessment centre, like what happens? Because I've heard things from other people that have surprised me actually in terms of, you know, how strict things are and things in the actual assessment. Could one of you walk us through, you know, your experience really?
Yeah, happy to. So I sort of sat mine in the sort of Cardiff Centre. So I'm based in Cardiff. Sort of as an early start, I think you got to sort of keep that in mind. You know, you want to make sure you leave in good time. You have enough time to sort of get to the centre. It was in winter. It was raining. It was pretty bleak and dark out. So you want to make sure you got coat and stuff as well. Just practical implications as well. Work out how you're traveling there and getting there. I fortunately live quite close to the assessment centre, so I could walk. But if you're getting public transport or you're driving, think ahead. Um, they sort of let you in at the designated time. You put your bag in a locker. They sort of make sure they check your photo ID. They get you to sort of check through the sort of form and see that you understand what you're about to sit. And then they sit you down in front of a computer, and it's 190 questions. Then you get a break. You get to, for me, I got to sort of leave the assessment center, so I could take my bag and sort of go out, have a bite to eat, have a bit of water, review my notes. So I had flashcards. I sort of flicked through in that sort of hour-long break, and then went back and did the other 90 questions.
And you mentioned about have some water because I understand you can't even take a drink in.
Yeah, can't bring your water in. If you want to go
Yeah,
water midway through, you have to put your hands up and ask.
I was going to comment on that part, and I'm going to try and do it without swearing and or getting angry because I think the conditions are probably. Well, I'm not going to be too brutal about it. The
Pretty
one of the
harsh.
hardest things I've done. Okay, they're horrible, but they're not horrible, but they're doable. But the is 2.5 hours. I don't know if it was just my center in particular, but it was meant to be an hour's break in between, and they asked us to come back like half an hour early. Um, you can't drink water in the exam because it's on computer. And because there is only a minute and 40 seconds per question, then I didn't feel I had time to go get water, especially because there was no water fountain on my floor, which was swear, say I shouldn't swear. The I crammed as much food and drink as I could before starting the exam, early doors, so then I had the chance to get to the toilet before going into the exam, and then came out in that half an hour break and did the same, probably about 3 bottles of water, because you are staring at a screen for 2.5 hours, and then again for another 2.5 hours, and that's just the first exam because then you get to do it all over again the week after. But yeah, they're hard, but that's what you're working for, isn't it?
Just to mention in case it's relevant to anyone as well, if someone had perhaps reasonable adjustments due to learning needs, for example, whilst at university, it may well be that you can apply to the SRA for adjustments as well. So that's something you can make contact with the SRA before even taking up a preparation course if you wanted to, just to find out what might be able to be put in place. But yeah, in general terms, it sounds like, you know, the assessments are pretty harsh, aren't they, really?
Yeah, they are difficult and sort of long. I think you do get more time than you maybe think. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but some questions I was pretty able to just do like that, and it just took me 10 seconds, and then I can move
Yeah.
on to the others. I personally find the best advice I sort of got given and sort of thought about was that if I didn't immediately know the question after reading through, I basically just like highlighted it and I just moved on. And so that meant that like by the end of it, I maybe had like 50 odd questions I wanted to look back and go to, but it meant I got the easy ones out of the way, and I could spend more and more time on like the ones that were harder and harder. I found that worked for me. I don't know if that was anyone else.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they are very difficult. And I think, we wanted to come on this call and be open and be transparent with you guys because there's nothing worse, as Alastair was saying, his friend, they were told that the MCQs are a lot easier and then you get the fright of your life when you're in there. But I had time at the end of every single session to go back, and it is good. I'm not sure if any of you have sort of sat car theory driving tests. They're sort of centres like that. So you've got a screen, you've got sort of headphones that you can put on, and I found that really helpful because you can just sort of block out. You get given sort of a whiteboard with a pen. So I went in and listed sort of MCQs, and then I was going to tick next to it if I was happy, but then I realised, and as Alex was saying, that I hope it still does, but it used to have a function where you could flag if you were not sure, and at the end it sort of puts all those onto a screen and you can go into the ones that you flagged. You're running off adrenaline on that day, and I think if you have put in the work and you've done the MCQs, you've done some tests, you've gone over and over the content, it is more than doable. It can be quite an intense day. The other 2 points I just wanted to quickly add is check your ID, because you need 2 forms of ID, and I'm pretty sure it needs to be in date. The last thing you want to do is get to the test centre and be told you can't sit your exam because you have no valid ID. And Alex also touched upon it, getting there on time, because I think legally, if you're not there in the time that they prescribe you to be there, they can stop you from sitting the exam. And that's sort of just the last thing that you guys want.
Thanks, Sophie.
Just on that, sorry, I did forget one of my IDs on the first day, and they said to bring it back on the second day, so it was fine. But don't do it. Just you need 2 forms of ID, driving license and a passport or something like that.
Brilliant, thank you.